The morning sun filters through the half-drawn curtains, painting streaks of gold across the polished wooden floor. I stand by the window, fumbling with my coffee cup, listening to the rhythmic ticking of the old clock in the hallway. The house feels unnaturally quiet, and I know why. Today she's coming my dad's new wife. I glance at my wife, Aisha, sitting on the edge of the couch, her hands neatly folded in her lap. She's humming softly, trying to mask the flutter of nerves, her smile hesitant yet genuine. "Do you think she'll like the guest room?" she asks, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her voice is tinged with optimism, the kind that still believes in second chances, in people's ability to change. I want to agree, to match her hope with my own, but a cold knot twists in my stomach. This isn't just a guest. It's an intruder in our world, someone whose presence I cannot ignore. I watch her, so innocent in her anticipation, unaware of the subtle storms waiting to crash. The doorbell rings, sharp and insistent. My heart jumps, and I feel an almost physical weight pressing down on my chest. Aisha rises, smoothing her dress, her smile trembling slightly. "Here we go," she whispers. I follow her slowly, my steps heavier than usual. When the door opens, she's there. My dad's new wife, her presence immediately commanding, radiating a polished warmth that doesn't quite reach the eyes. She smiles, all teeth and brightness, and steps inside as if she owns the air around her. "Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to finally meet you," she says, her voice syrupy, rehearsed. I notice the way she looks at Aisha, a flicker of something disdain, envy. That disappears as quickly as it came. Aisha greets her warmly, her hand outstretched. "It's nice to meet you too. Welcome to our home," she says, her tone light, but I notice a subtle stiffness in her posture, a shadow behind the words. I step forward. "Glad you could make it," I say, my voice measured. My dad appears behind her, a grin plastered across his face. Oblivious to the tension curling through the room like smoke, the first hour is a delicate dance. Polite conversation, light laughter, carefully measured compliments. I watch my wife closely. Every time she smiles, it feels fragile, as if she's holding herself together with sheer will. I notice the way my stepmom's eyes linger on Aisha's belly, the subtle curve already showing in the early months. Her smile falters just slightly, a fraction too long, a pause that carries more than words ever could. We sit in the living room. The air feels thick, almost tangible, each breath carrying an invisible weight. My wife tries to engage in conversation, asking about hobbies, favorite books, small details meant to build bridges. My stepmom responds with interest, but the enthusiasm feels performative, like a mask stretched too tight. I notice the tiny, almost imperceptible sighs my wife lets slip when she thinks no one is listening. My chest tightens. Every glance exchanged between them is a test of patience and strength got at lunch. The tension escalates silently. My stepmom offers unsolicited advice on her cooking, her tone polite but pointed. "I find the sauce could use a little more finesse," she says, tilting her head, eyes glinting. My wife bites her lip, nodding politely, but I see the hurt, the way her fingers clench around her napkin. My jaw tightens, a slow, simmering anger brewing beneath the surface. I try to intervene, to smooth over the friction with small, easy jokes, but my words fall flat, absorbed by the quiet storm brewing in my father's new household. He laughs, not noticing the tension, while I watch my wife's eyes flicker toward me, silently pleading for reassurance. I reach for her hand under the table, our fingers intertwining, grounding each other amidst the subtle hostility. After lunch, she wanders to the balcony, pretending to admire the garden. I follow. The sunlight kisses her hair, highlighting the soft curve of her face, the gentle glow of her skin. "It's not what I expected," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. I wrap my arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. I know, I murmur, pressing a kiss to her temple. But we'll get through this. Together. She leans into me, letting out a shaky breath, and I feel the tension drain slightly, only to return as soon as we hear footsteps behind us. My stepmom steps onto the balcony, her smile carefully sweet, yet something sharp glints in her eyes. It's such a beautiful view, she says, glancing at Aisha's growing belly. There's a pause, a weight in the air that neither of us acknowledges but both feel. I stiffen, feeling the chill settle in my chest like a shadow creeping over a sunlit field. The afternoon drags on. Conversations are careful, measured, polite, but every laugh, every compliment, carries undercurrents of comparison and quiet judgment. I notice how my stepmom finds ways to insert herself between us in subtle gestures, adjusting a chair, offering to pour tea, standing just a little too close. It's as if she's staking claim, testing boundaries we never agreed to define. Evening falls, painting the room in hues of orange and purple. The sunlight fades, leaving long shadows creeping across the walls. I watch my wife, her posture weary, shoulders drooping with exhaustion from holding herself so carefully. I take her hand again, squeezing it tightly, and she looks at me, eyes glistening. Do you think he notices? She whispers. Her voice carries the weight of quiet despair, the kind that pierces deeper than anger ever could. I shake my head, swallowing my frustration. Not yet. But I see everything, I reply. I promise I'm here. She nods, leaning into me, and for a moment, the world outside our small bubble fades. But I know the calm is temporary. A storm has entered our home, and shadows have already begun to settle. The night comes, heavy and suffocating. The house creaks with age, and every noise feels magnified in the tension that hangs thickly in the air. My stepmom retires to her room with a sense of triumph, leaving a lingering chill in the halls. My father, oblivious, mumbles goodnight, unaware of the quiet damage left in his wake. I linger in the doorway of our bedroom, watching my wife as she curls under the covers. Her breath is uneven, restless. It's only day one, she murmurs, more to herself than to me. My heart aches at the fragile strength she carries, the silent endurance I wish I could shield her from. I kneel beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We'll survive this, I whisper, but the words feel hollow against the weight of what's to come. Shadows have arrived, and I know they will not leave without a fight. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the windows, carrying an eerie whisper through the house. I watch it dance across the floorboards, and I realize our lives are about to change forever. The morning light filters through the curtains, but it no longer feels warm. It's a pale, hesitant glow that does little to chase away the chill in our home. Aisha sits at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea, staring at the steam curling upward, as if it can somehow shield her from the whispers already floating in the air. I lean against the doorframe, watching her. Her shoulders are tense, and every so often, she flinches at noises that would have been harmless just a week ago. I want to reach for her, to pull her into a protective embrace, but I hesitate. The subtle cruelty isn't always visible. It's hidden in glances, in the lingering tone of a comment. In the quiet way, my stepmom's presence seems to stretch across every room, dominating without words. It starts with small things. A casual remark about our home's decor. You've arranged everything. Unusually, my stepmom says one afternoon, tilting her head as she surveys the living room. On the surface, it seems like harmless observation, but the words carry a quiet judgment that cuts sharper than any open insult. Aisha smiles politely, nodding, but I notice the way her lips tighten, her fingers pressing against the table so hard the knuckles whiten. Later, I find Aisha in the hallway, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Why does she always have to make me feel small? She whispers. Her voice is trembling, fragile, yet filled with quiet indignation. I step closer, wrapping my arms around her from behind, holding her close. I don't know, I murmur, pressing my lips to her temple. But I see you, and I'll never let her dim your light. She leans into me, and for a moment, the warmth returns. But it's fleeting. The subtle cracks are growing at work. I hear whispers, comments that are half-truths, rumors distorted to make me look blind, to make my protective instincts feel inadequate. A colleague mentions seeing my stepmom fussing over the house, and then dropping a pointed comment about how Aisha handles pregnancy clumsily. Words like that, whispered in corridors, travel faster than the speed of intention. And when Aisha hears them, even secondhand, her smile falters. One evening, I come home early, hoping to surprise her. Instead, I find her sitting on the balcony, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the garden. Her eyes are distant, haunted by something unsaid. I approach quietly, taking a seat beside her. Rough day? I ask gently, careful not to startle her. She turns her head slightly, and I see the weight pressing down on her heart. It's not just today, she whispers. It's everything. The looks, the comments, the way she watches me, as if she's waiting for me to fail. I take her hand, squeezing it. She won't win, I say firmly. Not when I'm here, and not when we have each other. You're stronger than she'll ever know. A faint smile flickers across her face, but I know it's fragile. Every act of kindness, every gentle word, feels like it must counterbalance the quiet cruelty that lurks in our home. The next day, it escalates. My stepmom offers unsolicited advice on diet, on walking, on how to arrange the baby's room. Each comment is wrapped in a veneer of concern, yet the undertone is sharp, invasive, and suffocating. Aisha nods politely, answering each remark with measured politeness. But I see her flinch at the intrusion, the way her body recoils slightly, as if protecting herself from a cold gust of wind. That night, we sit together on the couch, the muted glow of the living room lamp casting soft shadows around us. Aisha rests her head on my shoulder, and I wrap my arm around her. Do you think he notices? She asks quietly, referring to my father. Her voice carries a mixture of frustration and helplessness. I shake my head slowly. He sees what he wants to see. But we'll handle this together. Always. I feel her hand brush against mine, a small but significant gesture of trust. She leans closer, and I rest my forehead against hers, inhaling the familiar scent of her hair, a mix of jasmine and warmth that steadies me. But even in these quiet moments, I feel the tension gnawing at the edges. I watch her sleep that night, her breathing shallow, restless. I imagine her navigating the day's subtle cruelties, and a surge of helpless rage floods through me. I want to confront, to shout, to defend, but the battlefield is complicated. Words are weapons, intentions are masks, and loyalty binds my father to someone whose actions I cannot condone. The days blur into each other, each one carrying a new whisper, a new slight, a subtle act that chips away at the fragile balance we are trying to maintain. I catch my stepmom glancing at Aisha's belly with a faint frown, the ghost of a smirk tugging at the corners of her lips. Aisha notices too, and I see the hesitation in her posture, the small pauses that ripple through her movements as if she is measuring every action, guarding herself against unseen attacks. One afternoon, I confront my stepmom directly. Why do you insist on undermining her? I ask, my voice low but firm. She looks at me, eyebrows raised, feigning surprise. Undermining? I'm just offering advice, she replies sweetly. But the sharpness in her tone, the subtle edge in her smile, betrays the truth. I turn away, frustration coiling in my chest like a snake. I can't make my father see it yet, Can't make him understand the quiet storm she's stirring. All I can do is protect Aisha in the ways I know, in the stolen touches, the whispered reassurances, the silent promises that we'll endure this together. That night, I hold her as we lie in bed, the room dark except for the soft glow of the streetlight outside. Her head rests against my chest, her hair a cascade of softness I never want to let go of. "Do you think this will get better?" She murmurs. "I have to believe it will," I reply, my hand tracing circles on her back. "And if it doesn't?" "We'll face it together. Always." She sighs softly, and I hear the tremor in her voice, the quiet fear she's trying to mask. I kiss the top of her head, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on me, heavier than any burden I've ever carried. The night stretches long and restless, filled with whispered worries, imagined confrontations, and the knowledge that the storm is only beginning. Each moment of calm is a fragile illusion, each smile a delicate armor against the subtle cruelty that threatens to fracture our lives. And as I watch her sleep, her chest rising and falling, I know one thing with absolute certainty. We are no longer just living in a house. We are navigating a battlefield of shadows and whispers, where love alone may not be enough to protect her. The morning begins like any other, but the air in the house is taut with tension, a fragile thread ready to snap. Aisha moves quietly through the kitchen, arranging breakfast on the table with careful precision. Her hands tremble slightly as she places a cup of tea in front of me. I notice it, of course, the smallest sign of unease, the invisible weight pressing down on her shoulders. I reach across the table, covering her hands with mine. "You don't have to do everything yourself," I say gently. "Let me help." She smiles, but it's thin, delicate, like glass on the edge of shattering. "I just want to make things normal," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the ticking clock. Before I can respond, the door swings open, and my stepmom glides in, her presence immediately commanding. "Good morning, lovebirds." She chirps, too cheerful, too bright, a sunbeam that feels more like a spotlight than warmth. She eyes the table critically, her lips curling in the faintest frown. "You know, when I was pregnant, I never let my husband see me struggle with simple things like breakfast." The words land like stones in the room. I feel Aisha's hand tighten around mine, her knuckles whitening, and my stomach churns with a mixture of anger and helplessness. My stepmom's tone is coated in false concern, but the sting beneath it is unmistakable. It's not just a comment, it's an attack, a deliberate undermining of the small dignity Aisha clings to. "I'm fine," Aisha replies softly, her voice trembling just enough for me to notice. Her eyes, wide and hurt, flick to me, silently asking for reassurance. I squeeze her hand, fighting the urge to lash out, to protect her physically from the cruelty in my stepmom's smile. But words alone aren't enough. They never are. Later that afternoon, the real harm arrives, not through words this time, but through an action that leaves Aisha shaken and me speechless. My stepmom insists on helping with organizing the baby's room, insisting she knows best. I step in at first, suggesting we coordinate together, but she waves me off with a practiced dismissiveness. Aisha follows reluctantly, trying to hide her discomfort. I trail behind, a knot tightening in my chest. The room is small, sunlight filtering through half-open blinds, dust motes floating in the golden light. What should have been a moment of shared excitement, of tender preparation for our child, turns into a subtle battlefield. My stepmom picks up a delicate baby blanket, shaking it slightly. "Oh, I wouldn't use this. It's too soft. It won't survive washing. Don't you want something more practical?" She smiles at me as if I should agree, but her eyes are fixed on Aisha, watching every flicker of reaction, every faltering breath. Aisha bites her lip, holding back tears. "It's fine," she says quietly. Her voice is brittle, the fragility in it like a thin ice sheet over a deep lake. I want to step forward, to rip the blanket from her hands, to tell her to leave my wife and our home in peace. But I don't. Not yet. Not when the family ties bind me as tightly as the love for my wife does. And then it happens that my stepmom, in a move meant to be helpful, knocks over a small basket of carefully folded baby clothes. They tumble to the floor, soft fabrics scattering across the carpet. Oh, how clumsy of me. She laughs, but the laughter feels sharp, almost cruel. Aisha kneels to pick them up, her hands shaking, and in that moment, I see the betrayal etched across her face, an expression I will never forget. It's not the accident that hurts, it's the understanding behind it, that she is being tested, belittled, and made to feel unsafe in the place that should be her sanctuary. I step closer, my voice low and dangerous. That's enough. My stepmom blinks, startled, her smile faltering. I was just trying to help, she says, her tone suddenly hesitant. But the damage is done. Aisha's eyes meet mine, brimming with unspoken pain. I wrap my arms around her, holding her close as she shudders against me. Why would she do this? She whispers, her voice breaking. Why now? When everything should be about the baby? I have no answer, nothing that can make sense of the cruelty disguised as care. My anger simmers, raw and hot, but it's tangled with guilt. Guilt that I can't make my father see, that I can't shield her completely. The house feels smaller, closing in around us, the shadows longer. Darker dot, we retreat to the living room, silent except for the occasional creak of floorboards. I sit beside her on the couch, drawing her close, holding her as if my arms could absorb every ounce of pain she feels. I'm so sorry, I murmur, brushing hair from her damp forehead. I wish I could stop it, all of it. I wish I could protect you from everything. She leans into me, trembling slightly. I know, she whispers. But it's hard. So hard. I kiss her temple, feeling the weight of helplessness pressing down on me. Each breath she takes is a reminder of the fragility of this moment, the delicate line between love and heartbreak. I vow silently to myself that I will never let her feel alone in this battle, not when the shadows are so close, not when they threaten to consume everything we've built together. Later that evening, my father walks in, oblivious to the incident. Dinner's ready, he announces cheerfully, unaware of the tension lingering in the room like a heavy fog. I glance at him, then at my stepmom, and the anger curls tighter in my chest. But I stay silent. Words are dangerous here. Confrontations could fracture more than just the present. They could ripple into the fragile peace we're clinging to. Aisha sits across from me, her hands folded on her lap, her eyes downcast. I reach out under the table, our fingers entwining once more. She squeezes my hand, a silent anchor amidst the storm. I want to say something, to voice the rage and frustration boiling inside me, but I don't. Instead, I focus on holding her, on showing her through actions that she is not alone, that I am here, that love can be a shield even when the world seems determined to hurt her. After dinner, the house falls silent. Aisha and I sit together in the living room, the soft hum of the night outside our window the only sound. I brush her hair behind her ear, tracing the line of her jaw with my fingers. I hate that this is happening to you, I admit quietly. I hate that the person who should be harmless is causing you pain. She rests her head on my shoulder, sighing softly. I thought marriage meant protection, that home was a safe place, she murmurs. Her voice cracks just slightly, the weight of betrayal seeping through. I pull her closer, kissing her temple. It is, and it still will be. We'll make it safe together. No matter what she does, no matter what he sees or doesn't see, we'll survive this. But the words feel fragile. They are a promise, yes, but the promise feels heavy with uncertainty. The storm has arrived, and today's act was only a taste of the chaos to come. I know that tomorrow the subtle cruelties will continue, growing bolder, testing our patience, and perhaps even our love. I stay awake that night, holding her as she drifts into uneasy sleep, imagining the unspoken battles that lie ahead. Shadows have turned into something darker now, something capable of leaving lasting marks. And I realize with a chill that love, while powerful, may not be enough to shield us from the pain inflicted by someone who should have known better. The house seems to hold its breath. Every creak of the floorboards, every hum of the refrigerator, echoes louder than it should, as if amplifying the silence that has taken root. Aisha sits curled up on the couch, a blanket draped over her shoulders, staring at the muted television. The screen flickers, casting ghostly shadows on her face, but she doesn't notice. Her eyes are distant, lost in a space I cannot reach. I watch her, my chest tight with helplessness. The subtle cruelties of the past days have settled like a fog over her spirit, dimming her light. I long to shake her gently, to tell her she is not alone, yet I hesitate. Words feel inadequate, as though the truth I carry of love, protection, and shared struggle cannot penetrate the walls that have grown between us and the rest of the household. The day passes slowly, measured in glances and careful movements. My stepmom moves through the house with effortless authority, her presence a quiet command. She does not speak loudly, does not confront directly, but the tension she leaves in her wake is enough. Every touch of her hand, every tilt of her head, feels like a calculated maneuver, a reminder that she is here to unsettle, to claim space that is not hers. Aisha flinches when she passes her in the hallway, her hand instinctively brushing against my arm, as if seeking an anchor. I squeeze her fingers, holding her silently, letting my presence speak louder than words. "It's okay," I whisper, even though I know it isn't. It's never okay when someone you love is treated as less than worthy of respect, especially during a time when care should be unconditional. Lunch is a quiet affair. My stepmom offers suggestions on what to serve, her words coated in sweetness but carrying a sharp undercurrent. "You should eat more, dear," she says to Aisha, tilting her head, her eyes lingering just a moment too long on my wife's belly. Pregnancy is delicate work. You wouldn't want to tire yourself unnecessarily. Aisha nods politely, her lips pressed together, eyes downcast. I want to argue, to insist she ignore these small assaults, but I know it won't help. Arguments with her are not won with logic. They are drowned in the invisible waves of manipulation and subtle control. Instead, I reach across the table, sliding my hand over hers, a small lifeline. The afternoon drags on, the sun dipping lower, painting long shadows across the walls. The air feels heavier with each passing hour. I notice Aisha's shoulders slump slightly, the way she hesitates before moving, as if measuring each step to avoid the invisible traps that seem to have multiplied around us. I take her to the balcony, seeking refuge in the fading light. The sky is painted in soft hues of pink and orange, a fleeting beauty that contrasts sharply with the tension inside the house. She leans against me, her head resting on my shoulder, and I wrap my arm around her. "Do you think it will ever stop?" she asks softly, her voice carrying the weight of quiet despair. I kiss the top of her head, inhaling the familiar scent of her hair. "I don't know," I admit, "but whatever comes, we'll face it together. You and me, always." Her fingers clutch mine tightly, and I feel the tremor of her fear, the delicate fragility of her trust. We sit in silence, watching the world outside, letting the soft evening light act as a shield against the coldness that has taken over our home. Inside, the house is eerily still. Every room feels like a stage set for tension, each corner a witness to the silent war being waged. My stepmom moves with an almost predatory grace, performing small acts of control, adjusting cushions, rearranging flowers, hovering near the edges of conversation. Nothing is overt, yet everything carries meaning. I pace the living room, trying to absorb the weight pressing down on me. My father lounges in his armchair, oblivious, reading a newspaper, as if the emotional currents swirling around him do not exist. I want to shout, to shake him awake to the reality of what is happening, but the words lodge in my throat. Confrontation now might fracture what little peace remains. Instead, I return to Aisha. She's kneeling on the floor, folding laundry, her movements careful, precise, almost ritualistic. I sit beside her, gently taking a shirt from her hands. "Let me help," I say softly. She nods, and we work together in silence, the rhythmic motion of folding fabric grounding us amidst the tension. It is in these small, quiet moments that our love feels most necessary. No grand gestures, no passionate speeches, just presence, touch, and the unspoken promise of protection. I watch her, noticing the faint curve of her smile when she catches my eye, the way she relaxes slightly in my presence. These fleeting moments are lifelines, fragile yet vital, keeping us anchored in a home that has become a minefield of emotions. Evening descends, and the shadows grow longer, creeping along the walls like silent intruders. The house seems to exhale a mournful sigh, heavy with all the words left unsaid. Aisha sits on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, and I slide beside her, holding her in my arms. "I wish I could make it better," I murmur, pressing my lips to her temple. She leans into me, a single tear escaping despite her best effort to stay composed. "I just want to feel safe," she whispers. "Is that too much to ask?" My heart twists. "No, never," I answer firmly. "You deserve safety, love, and peace. And I swear, I will fight for that every day." We sit like that for hours, listening to the house settle around us, the silence heavy but comforting in our togetherness. Outside, the wind rustles the leaves, a quiet symphony that contrasts with the tension indoors. I trace circles on her back, feeling the gentle rise and fall of her chest, memorizing the fragile rhythm of her breathing. But the quiet is deceptive. Every door that shuts, every footstep in the hallway, carries the potential to reopen wounds. I sense the storm gathering, subtle yet inevitable. The house may be silent, but the pressure building inside its walls is palpable, waiting for the right moment to erupt. Night falls fully, and we retreat to our bedroom, seeking the sanctuary we can carve from the chaos. Aisha lies against me, and I hold her close, whispering assurances that feel both necessary and fragile. "We'll endure this," I say, more to myself than to her. "Whatever comes, we'll endure it together. Outside, the world is still, but inside, the house holds its own secrets, its quiet accusations, its withheld judgments." Shadows stretch across the walls, hinting at the battles yet to come. And as I watch Aisha drift into uneasy sleep, I realize the quiet may be the most dangerous part, the calm before the storm. The evening air carries a restless chill, but nothing compares to the storm brewing inside me. Every step toward my father's study feels like walking on fragile ice. I can feel my pulse in my temples, the hot anger coiling tighter in my chest. Aisha's hand is warm in mine, a delicate tether keeping me anchored, yet the tension between duty, love, and family loyalty pulls in opposing directions. "Dad," I begin, my voice steady but firm, "I need to talk to you about her, about what's happening with Aisha." He looks up from the newspaper, eyebrows raised in mild surprise, as if he suspects nothing. "What about her?" His tone is calm, almost casual, but the calm feels like a challenge. I swallow hard, trying to steady my thoughts. "About the way she's being treated, about your wife. You can't ignore it. She's hurting Aisha." My father leans back in his chair, the leather creaking under his weight. He folds his hands across his chest, and I see the familiar infuriating set of his jaw, the same one that has always meant he's closing off, retreating into stubbornness. "I don't see what you're upset about," he says finally, voice smooth, careful. "She's just trying to help." "Help?" I echo, disbelief lacing my words. My hands tremble, tightening into fists. "Dad, she's hurting her. Physically, emotionally. She knocked over the basket of baby clothes. She undermines her in every small way. You were supposed to protect her, to see this. And you," I pause, choking on the bitter taste of betrayal. "You're defending her?" My father's eyes narrow slightly, a shadow of annoyance crossing his face. "I am her husband. I see her intentions, not the imagined offense in your mind." I stumble backward, my stomach twisting. The ground feels as though it's shifting beneath me. I look to Aisha, who stands just behind me, hands clenched at her sides, lips pressed together. Her eyes are wide, almost pleading. I feel a rush of guilt that my confrontation has placed her in this position. Guilt that the person I thought would side with justice instead chooses blindness. "How can you not see it, Dad?" I whisper, my voice breaking. "She's hurting the person I love more than anything. How can family mean so little?" He sighs, leaning back further. "Loyalty is not about agreeing with every whim, son. You're being dramatic. She's part of this family now, and I won't let you undermine her." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. My knees threaten to buckle, the world narrowing to the suffocating space between disbelief and fury. "Part of this family? You're willing to allow her to harm my wife and call it family?" My voice rises, and I feel tears pricking the corners of my eyes. Rage, helplessness, and heartbreak mix into a storm I can barely contain. Aisha steps forward, her small hand on my shoulder. Please don't fight. Don't make this worse," she whispers, her voice trembling, eyes glistening with tears she refuses to release. I turn toward her, seeing the fragility in her posture, the way she leans into me, as if I am her shield against the entire world. But the betrayal by my own father claws at my heart. "I can't just stand by," I say, voice raw. "I can't let her hurt you, not when you're carrying our child, not when she's supposed to be showing care, not cruelty." My father shakes his head, expression hardening. "You're letting emotions cloud your judgment. Family is about unity, about protection, not about petty grievances." "Petty?" I shout, and the room seems to shrink around us. "You call her hitting her, mocking her, making her feel unwelcome petty? Do you even hear yourself?" Aisha clutches my arm, whispering my name. I feel her fear, the quiet plea for peace amid the chaos. I glance at her, my heart breaking at the sight of her pain, and I force myself to lower my voice, though the fire in me burns hotter than ever. "Dad, I'm not asking you to take sides against anyone," I say, the words measured but searing. "I'm asking you to recognize truth, to protect the people you love, to see that love isn't blind. It's aware, it notices pain, and it acts to stop it." My father's eyes soften slightly, but only slightly. "I see more than you think. I just choose to trust her intentions." "Intentions?" I whisper, bitter. "Intentions don't erase consequences. She's already hurt her. Every comment, every act of interference, it adds up. And you're standing there, blind to it?" The silence that follows is heavy, suffocating. My father sits back, the weight of stubborn loyalty pressing between us, and I realize with a sickening clarity that the line I had assumed was clear between love and betrayal, between right and wrong has blurred. Aisha's hand slips into mine, and I feel the tremble in her fingers. We can't let this keep happening," she whispers, voice quivering. "Not for our child. Not for us." I nod, swallowing hard. I know, I murmur, and the truth tastes bitter in my mouth. We'll face it together. But I can't rely on him. Not like I thought I could. Her tears spill now, silent, hot trails across her cheeks. I lift her face, brushing them away gently. I'll protect you. I promise, my lips pressing to hers in a soft, desperate kiss. No one will touch you without facing me. Not now, not ever. The anger inside me simmers, but beneath it lies a deeper, knowing ache, the ache of a father's betrayal. The knowledge that the one person I expected to understand and act as a shield chooses willful blindness instead. My heart twists with a bitter clarity. Love alone is sometimes not enough to safeguard those you cherish. We retreat to the balcony. The cool night air a fragile balm against the storm that rages inside the house. The city lights twinkle below, indifferent to our turmoil, a reminder of a world outside the walls where love, trust, and loyalty are tested daily. Aisha leans against me, seeking comfort in my presence, and I wrap my arm around her, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. I can't imagine what tomorrow will bring, she whispers. Whatever it is, I reply, pressing my forehead against hers. We face it together, always, no matter how many walls are built against us or how many loyalties fail. We survive this, I promise you, but the promise feels fragile, hanging by a thread as I glance back toward the study. My father sits in quiet defiance, and I know the war lines have been drawn. The cracks in loyalty are deeper than I imagined, and the house we once thought of as a home is now a battlefield where love, trust, and family collide. The morning light filters through the thin curtains, casting soft stripes across the bedroom floor. The house is quiet, but the silence is heavy, pressing in like a living thing. Aisha is curled against me, her head resting on my chest, and I trace the outline of her shoulder with slow, careful fingers. In these stolen moments, the world narrows to the rhythm of her breathing, the subtle warmth of her skin against mine. We'll have to be careful today, I murmur, my lips brushing her hair. She's in the kitchen already, pretending like everything's normal. Aisha lifts her head slightly, eyes still hazy with sleep. I know, she whispers, voice soft but tinged with fatigue. It feels exhausting, pretending to be okay. I tighten my hold, as if my embrace alone can shield her. You don't have to pretend with me, I say firmly. Here, you can just be you. That's enough. Her lips curve into the smallest smile, fleeting yet luminous. Thank you, she breathes, and I catch the tremor in her voice, a mixture of relief and lingering fear. We stay like that for a long moment, suspended in quiet intimacy, before the realities of the household force us apart. The moment I open the bedroom door, the tension of the house wraps around us like a cold wind. My stepmom moves through the hallway with deliberate ease, humming softly, arranging small decorative items as she goes. Each step she takes feels like a calculated intrusion, a reminder that our private world exists only in stolen fragments. I take Aisha's hand in mine, squeezing gently. We'll stick to our signals today, I whisper. Quiet smiles, subtle touches. No one can take these moments from us. She nods, and together we navigate the rooms, exchanging soft glances, fingertips brushing under the pretense of casual contact. Every glance, every touch is a whispered rebellion, a testament to our resilience. I marvel at how even in the midst of tension, our connection can feel like a lifeline, a fragile bond that refuses to break. Lunchtime arrives, and the dining room becomes a minefield. My stepmom dominates conversation with practiced charm, steering discussions with subtle jabs disguised as concern. Aisha sits across from me, her hands folded neatly in her lap, eyes darting nervously. I reach under the table, sliding my hand over hers, feeling her tension ease just slightly under the reassurance of my touch. "You're doing great," I whisper, my lips brushing her ear. She flinches at first, then relaxes, her fingers tightening around mine. "We're in this together," I add, and she allows herself a small, secret smile that no one else can see. After lunch, we retreat to the living room, claiming a corner where shadows fall in our favor. The sun is dipping lower, golden light streaming through the windows, and for a fleeting moment, the house seems almost gentle, almost safe. I brush hair from her face, tucking it behind her ear, and she leans into my touch. "I hate that it has to be this way," she whispers. "That every hug, every laugh, feels like hiding something." "I hate it too," I admit, pressing my forehead to hers. "But even in hiding, even in whispers, our love survives. That's what matters. That's what they can't touch." We sit like that for hours, creating a small world of our own amidst the chaos. Our hands find each other again and again, soft touches that speak volumes, unspoken promises exchanged in gentle caresses. Each moment feels precious, fragile as porcelain, yet stronger than any wall or threat surrounding us. Evening brings a chill, the kind that settles deep in the bones. The house groans under its own weight, as if echoing our unspoken fears. Aisha shivers slightly, and I drape a blanket around her shoulders, holding her close. "You'll always have me," I murmur. "No one can take that away." She leans against me, resting her head on my shoulder. "I know," she whispers. "It's just hard. The constant waiting, the tension. I feel like I'm walking on glass." "You're not alone," I assure her. Every step, every heartbeat, we face it together, always. The night grows deeper, shadows stretching across walls like silent observers. From the hallway, I hear the faint sound of my stepmom moving about, tidying, humming, a subtle reminder that our sanctuary is temporary, delicate, and constantly threatened. Yet even in the face of this looming presence, our connection deepens. Each whisper, each clandestine smile becomes a thread weaving our own secret universe. Resistant to intrusion. We steal moments in the kitchen, rushing against each other, under the pretense of pouring tea. Our touches are fleeting, but the heat between us is undeniable, a reminder that even in adversity, passion can flourish. "Promise me something," she murmurs as we share a quiet glance. The clink of china, our only background noise. "What?" I ask, brushing my thumb along the back of her hand. "Promise me. No matter what happens, we'll never let this break us. Not the house, not her, not anyone." "I promise," I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. We hold on to each other, always. Her smile is small but radiant, and for a moment the house seems to soften, as if acknowledging the strength of our bond. But the reprieve is brief. The creak of a floorboard, the soft hum of her voice elsewhere, reminds us that danger's subtle, persistent is never far. Later, in the dim light of the bedroom, we hold each other close, lingering in the warmth of our shared defiance. Every heartbeat, every whispered word, fortifies us against the pressures closing in from every side. The world outside may be fraught with manipulation and cruelty, but here, in the fragile sanctuary of our love, we are invincible. Yet even as I brush her hair from her face, pressing a soft kiss to her temple, a sense of foreboding creeps in. The bond we've nurtured is delicate, vulnerable to the constant tension of the house. Every stolen touch, every secret smile, is a defiance of forces stronger than us. And I know the coming days will test our resilience in ways we cannot yet foresee. I trace the curve of her cheek with my fingers, memorizing the delicate lines of her face as if imprinting them in my memory. "No matter what happens," I whisper, "we survive it together. Always." She closes her eyes, and for a brief moment, peace settles between us, a fragile, fleeting peace. I hold her close, letting the warmth of our connection shield us from the cold reality beyond our room. The day began like any other, with sunlight spilling into the quiet corners of our bedroom. But beneath that calm lurked the tension of unspoken threats. I had sensed it all morning, the subtle glances, the pointed remarks from my stepmom, the cold precision in her movements. Aisha moved with her usual grace, but I could see the anxiety coiled beneath her eyes, the way her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt. "I don't think I can do this today," she whispered as I helped her into the living room. "I can't keep pretending it's just little things anymore." I held her hand, feeling the tremor in her palm. "We'll take it moment by moment," I murmured. "But if anyone tries to hurt you, I swear they'll regret it." The tension escalated over lunch. My stepmom's voice was sugar-coated, yet every word was a carefully placed barb. "You mustn't tire yourself, dear," she said, her eyes flicking toward Aisha's belly. "Pregnancy is so delicate, so easily disrupted by stress or mismanagement." Aisha's hands clenched in her lap as she forced a smile. I wanted to explode, to hurl accusations, but I caught myself, restraining the fury that threatened to consume me. Every glance toward my father revealed the same calm indifference, the same loyalty to my stepmom that made my chest ache with betrayal. The incident itself was sudden. Sharp a line crossed that shattered the fragile balance we had maintained. My stepmom reached for a basket of folded baby clothes Aisha had been organizing, her hand brushing aggressively against Aisha's arm. The clothes spilled to the floor, an avalanche of pastel fabrics tumbling like tiny mocking echoes of our daily struggle. "Watch what you're doing," Aisha snapped, her voice trembling with restrained anger and humiliation. My stepmom's smile widened, sweet and venomous. "Oh, my dear, don't be so sensitive. It's only clothes," she said, her tone lightly dismissive, as though the act held no weight, no consequence. I lunged forward instinctively, heart pounding, fury raw and unfiltered. "Only clothes? That's the limit of your concern?" I bellowed, my voice reverberating through the room. "Do you understand what this does? You humiliate her, constantly undermine her. And you," I faltered, unable to find words strong enough for the rage building in me. Aisha pressed her palm against my chest, pulling me back gently. "Not here. Not now," she whispered, her voice cracking. The soft sound of her plea was a knife twisting in my gut. She was right. This was our battlefield. But the fight had to be strategic, or we risked losing more than anger could reclaim. My father cleared his throat, the calm authority in his voice cutting through the tension. "That's enough. She didn't mean any harm. You're overreacting." I froze. Overreacting. The word hung in the air like a mockery. I turned to him, eyes blazing. "Overreacting? Dad, she's hurting her. She's making her life miserable. And you—" My voice broke. I wanted him to see, to understand the magnitude of the betrayal. Yet he remained unmoved, perched in his chair, as if witnessing a minor dispute rather than the emotional assault of someone I loved, more than life itself. Aisha sank to her knees, gathering the clothes silently. Her hands shook as she folded each piece, composure a fragile mask over the storm inside her. I moved to her side, kneeling with her, fingers brushing against hers, silently conveying that she wasn't alone. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, barely audible. "I can't keep hiding my feelings. I can't keep pretending this is tolerable." I brushed a strand of hair from her face, lips grazing her temple. "You don't have to," I whispered. "You're not alone. Not now, not ever. I'll protect you." But words felt hollow against the weight of our reality. My father's indifference and my stepmom's deliberate cruelty made me realize that love alone could no longer shield her. Protection required more strategy, boundaries, and courage I had yet to fully summon. The rest of the day passed in tense silence. I refused to leave Aisha's side, guiding her through each encounter with my stepmom, like navigating a minefield. Every movement, every glance, had to be measured. Even in the kitchen, pouring tea became an act of vigilance. The smallest misstep could trigger another incident, and the thought made my chest tighten with anxiety. By evening, Aisha retreated to the balcony, seeking solace in the fading light. I joined her, wrapping my arms around her from behind, letting the warmth of my body shield her. "We can't let them win," I murmured, feeling the tremor of anger and determination threading through my voice. She leaned against me, drawing strength from our shared proximity. "I know, but how do we fight when the people who should protect us choose not to?" I kissed the top of her head, pressing my forehead to hers. "Then we find another way. We don't wait for permission. We make our own path, our love. It's stronger than their cruelty." Her hands grasped mine, trembling yet resolute. "I trust you," she whispered. "I have to. For us. For the baby." Night fell like a velvet curtain, thick and heavy. The house felt alive with the tension of unsaid words, with every creak and hum a reminder of the battle that had only just begun. I knew that tomorrow would bring another challenge, another test of patience and resilience. But I also knew, with an unshakable certainty, that my resolve had solidified. Alone was no longer enough, but I would fight for her with every fiber of my being. I helped Aisha to bed, ensuring she was comfortable, tucking the blanket around her carefully. She clung to me, eyes wide with lingering fear, and I whispered reassurances, promising safety, protection, and unwavering devotion. Yet even as I held her, my mind raced with plans, strategies, and the awareness that our sanctuary was fragile, and the next strike could come at any moment. I lingered in the doorway after she drifted into an uneasy sleep, gazing at the shadows that filled the room. The house that had once felt like home now loomed like a trap, each corner a reminder of the delicate line we walked between love and conflict, safety and threat. My jaw tightened, fists curling at my sides. I realized then that the fight for her well-being would demand more than quiet reassurances, more than whispered comforts. I would have to be vigilant, deliberate, and relentless. For her, for our child, for the fragile future we dared to dream of, I would find a way to reclaim the balance that had been stolen from us. The house is silent, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the distant ticking of the living room clock. Night drapes itself over every corner, softening shadows yet amplifying tension. I sit beside Aisha on the balcony, the cool night air brushing our faces, and she leans into me, a quiet comfort against the store of emotions that has marked the past weeks. "I can't keep feeling like I'm walking through fire," she whispers, fingers twisting around mine. Every day, I brace myself for the next attack. I hold her close, letting the warmth of my chest shield her from the invisible blows. "We'll stop this," I promise softly. "But first, we need to understand it, why she acts this way. What drives her cruelty?" Aisha sighs, resting her head against my shoulder. I tried ignoring it, hoping it was jealousy or just insecurity. "But there's more, isn't there?" I nod, the pieces falling into a painful but coherent pattern. Over months of observation, over whispered comments and lingering glances, I've begun to see the threads that bind her actions, a tapestry woven with envy, wounded pride, and a desire to assert dominance over the home she's entered. She resents you, I murmur, brushing my fingers through her hair. Not for who you are, but for the life you've built, for the love we share. She can't stand that it wasn't hers from the start. Aisha flinches slightly, the words cutting deeper than I expected. "I never imagined anyone could harbor that much bitterness," she whispers, eyes glistening. "It's almost like she wants to erase me." "Exactly," I reply, voice tight with anger. Every small act mocking, undermining, the spills, the comments is her way of carving space for herself at your expense. She's playing a long game, and I've been blind to the full extent of it. Her hand finds mine, squeezing tight. "So now we know," she says. "Now we can act. Now we can protect what's ours." I nod, heart pounding with determination. We have to be strategic. This isn't about yelling or confrontation anymore. It's about reclaiming our home, our dignity, and ensuring your safety and the baby's. We have to be careful, deliberate. We start quietly, mapping out the days ahead. Every interaction, every shared meal becomes a calculated move. We create signals, coded gestures that allow us to communicate across rooms without alerting her. A smile, a brush of the hand, a subtle nod, each one a lifeline in a house that has become a battlefield. "We need allies," I whisper later, as we retreat to the bedroom. Not in the family. Not yet. But friends, neighbors, anyone who can witness or support us when the pressure gets too much. Aisha leans into me, pressing a soft kiss to my shoulder. "I trust you," she says. "And I'm ready. Ready to fight for us." The night deepens, and in the quiet, the truths of the past emerge like specters from shadowed corners. My stepmom's bitterness isn't new. It's layered over old wounds. Childhood slights, past betrayals, a constant hunger for validation. Everything she projects onto Aisha is rooted in unresolved pain. Understanding it doesn't soften the blow, but it sharpens my resolve. "I know why she does it," I whisper. "It's not about you, not truly. It's her own emptiness she's trying to fill at your expense." Aisha tilts her head, eyes searching mine. "Knowing why doesn't make it hurt any less." "No," I admit. "It doesn't. But knowing gives us power. Power to protect, to navigate, to survive this without letting it destroy us." We spend hours talking, planning, imagining responses to her next moves. Each scenario is considered, every potential manipulation dissected. It's exhausting, but necessary. I see the determination in Aisha's eyes, the same fierce light that drew me to her from the beginning. Despite the fear, despite the threat, she remains unbroken. At one point, she rests her hand on her belly, eyes soft with worry. "I'm scared for the baby," she admits. "I want to shield them from all of this." "You will," I promise, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "We'll make sure this house is a home again. A place of safety, love, and laughter. We just have to be patient, tactical, and relentless." The hours pass like fragile candlelight, burning low yet refusing to die out. Outside, the world sleeps, unaware of the quiet wars being waged in the walls of our home. Inside, our bond strengthens, forged in whispered conversations, shared plans, and the understanding that love alone isn't enough, but love with strategy, with courage, with vigilance, can overcome almost anything. We practice our signals, rehearsing subtle gestures that communicate support, warning, or reassurance. A nod across the room, a gentle touch at the edge of the kitchen counter, a secret smile under the guise of polite conversation, all become weapons in our arsenal, tools to navigate the precarious space we inhabit. By midnight, exhaustion weighs on us, but so does a sense of readiness. Aisha rests against me, breathing slowing, eyelids heavy. I trace her jawline with my fingers, memorizing the lines of her face, the curve of her lips, the softness of her skin, illuminated by the moonlight. Every detail is a reminder of what we're fighting for: our love, our child, our dignity. Tomorrow, I whisper, we start reclaiming what's ours. Piece by piece, her eyes flutter open, glimmering with resolve. "Together," she murmurs. "Always," I reply, pressing my lips to hers. The kiss is soft, a promise sealed in the stillness of night, a vow that no amount of cruelty or manipulation can sever. Yet even in the intimacy, the quiet reveals the stark reality. We are preparing for a war that is as psychological as it is emotional. The house itself seems to pulse with latent tension, a silent witness to our strategy and our love. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind through the windows, is a reminder that vigilance must never waver. As I tuck her into bed finally, covering her with blankets, I linger for a moment, watching her drift toward sleep. The soft rise and fall of her chest, the small tremor in her fingers, the way her hair frames her face, all become anchors for my resolve. I will protect her, guide her, shield her. Not with blind trust in the walls of this house, not with hope alone, but with deliberate, careful, unyielding action. The morning sun sliced through the curtains, casting sharp streaks of light across the living room. The air was thick with anticipation, like the hush before a storm. I glanced at Aisha, who sat on the edge of the sofa, hands clenched tightly in her lap, eyes brimming with a mixture of fear and determination. Today, nothing would remain unsaid. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered, voice barely audible. "I can't keep hiding or pretending." I reached for her hand, holding it firmly. "You don't have to hide anymore. Not today. We face this together. Every word, every emotion, every truth." My stepmom appeared in the doorway, perfectly composed as always, though there was a flicker of curiosity, perhaps sensing the shift in the atmosphere. My father followed, a measured calm, masking whatever inner turmoil he might be feeling. But I knew him. The calm was thin veneer over shock, confusion, and the protective instinct that often blinds him. I took a deep breath, the weight of everything pressing down on me. "We need to talk. All of us." "Now," I said, voice steady, though my pulse hammered like a drum. Aisha stood beside me, tall and resolute, despite the tremor in her hands. My stepmom's smile was cautious, a delicate mask of civility, but her eyes were sharp, measuring, as though anticipating a trap. My father's expression was unreadable, but his brow furrowed as he leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "I've tried to ignore it," I began, words deliberate, controlled, but heavy with emotion. "I've tried to brush off the little things, the pointed comments, the subtle actions. But it's more than that. You've hurt her physically, emotionally, and I can't stand by anymore." Aisha's eyes glistened with tears, and she stepped slightly forward, hand on my shoulder. I felt her silent support, her trust in me as our shared shield against the tension in the room. That my stepmom's voice was smooth, almost mocking. "Hurt her? I don't know what you're talking about. Surely you exaggerate." I inhaled sharply, gripping my fists. "Exaggerate?" Clothes thrown on the floor, comments that humiliate her, constant undermining. This is not exaggeration. This is cruelty, deliberate cruelty, and it stops now. The room felt impossibly small, as if the walls themselves leaned in, listening, judging. My father cleared his throat, and I felt the weight of his gaze on me. "She's part of this family," he said slowly, voice measured but firm. "I won't tolerate disrespect toward her." I turned to him, anger and hurt mingling in a storm behind my eyes. "Then why have you let it happen? Why defend her when she's the one causing the pain?" A tense silence followed. My stepmom's expression flickered, an imperceptible crack in her carefully maintained facade. I only wanted to guide, to help. That's all," she said, voice trembling slightly under the weight of confrontation. "Guide?" I spat, taking a step forward. "By humiliating her in her own? By making her fear every interaction, every glance, every step? That is not guidance. That is control, and it ends today." Aisha placed her hand over mine, steadying me. Her soft squeeze reminded me why I was fighting, why this confrontation mattered more than pride or fear. My father's eyes darted between us, torn between loyalty to his new wife and the undeniable truth of her actions. "I didn't see it that way," he admitted, voice low. I didn't think she would." I shook my head, the frustration bubbling to the surface. You didn't see it because you chose not to. You ignored the signs, dismissed the pain in her eyes, and now you must face the consequences of that inaction. My stepmom's composure faltered further, lips parting as though searching for words. The confrontation had shifted the power subtly, undeniably toward us. For the first time, she could not manipulate, charm, or control the narrative. You think this is easy for me? She hissed, anger mingled with fear. Do you know the sacrifices I've made? I don't care about your sacrifices, I replied, voice hard but not cruel. What matters is the pain you've inflicted, the home you've poisoned, the love you've tried to undermine. And it stops now. Aisha stepped forward, courage blazing in her eyes. It's not just about me, she said softly but firmly. It's about the life growing inside me, about the respect we all owe each other in this family. Your actions threaten that, and we won't accept it. The words hung in the air, sharp and undeniable. My stepmom's eyes narrowed, and for a moment I saw the woman behind the mask, fearful, insecure, wounded, but dangerous. My father's face betrayed uncertainty, the protective instinct battling the shock of reality. This isn't over, my stepmom muttered, retreating slightly, but not yielding. You can't? Yes, we can, I cut in, stepping closer. Because love, respect, and dignity are non-negotiable. And you will learn that you cannot break us, cannot harm her, and cannot control our home any longer. Aisha's hand found mine again, fingers entwining, a silent vow of unity. Her presence gave me strength, courage, and clarity. Together, we were a force bound by love, necessity, and an unshakable sense of justice. The confrontation stretched on, words sharp, truths laid bare. Each revelation, each acknowledgement of past harm, carved a new path forward, a path where boundaries were drawn, roles clarified, and respect demanded that by the end. My stepmom retreated to her room, the simmering tension leaving a residue of unease, but also relief. My father remained in the living room, silent, contemplative, a man confronted with truths he could no longer ignore. I knew healing would take time, that reconciliation, if possible, would be slow and deliberate. But the first, most crucial step had been taken. The line had been drawn, and I had made it unmistakably clear that our love, our family, and our safety were not negotiable. I turned to Aisha, and the exhaustion in her eyes mirrored my own. Yet despite the turmoil, there was a spark of hope, determination, and the knowledge that we had faced the storm together. We embraced, tightly, long enough to let the weight of the confrontation settle. And for the first time in months, the house felt like ours again, if only slightly. The shadows still lingered, and the threat was far from gone. But we had reclaimed the peace of our home, our voice, and our dignity. The morning sunlight filters through the curtains, with a soft warmth that feels almost foreign in the house. We've come to see as a battlefield. For the first time in weeks, it doesn't feel threatening. It feels like a gentle promise. I watch Aisha move around the kitchen, her movements slow but deliberate, the faintest smile curving her lips. She hums softly, a tune that once felt drowned out by tension and whispers. You're humming, I say, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smile tugging at my lips. She glances at me, eyes sparkling with amusement and relief. It's a little thing, she says softly, but it feels good, like normalcy. The word feels heavy, precious, almost fragile. It's something we fought for, clawed toward through nights of whispered plans and heart-wrenching confrontations. And now, even small gestures, a hum, a shared glance, feel monumental. I step closer, reaching out to brush a strand of hair from her face. We've earned it, I whisper. Every step we took, every stand we made, it led to this moment. And we're still standing together. Her fingers find mine, weaving our hands together in a quiet, intimate ritual. I couldn't have done it without you, she admits, eyes glistening. Your strength, your presence. It kept me grounded when I felt like the world was collapsing around me. I pull her close, wrapping her in an embrace that's less about urgency and more about presence, letting her feel safe, letting myself feel the steadiness of her heart against mine. And I couldn't have done it without you. I murmur into her hair. You were my anchor, Aisha. Even when I was lost in anger, your calm reminded me what we're protecting, what we're fighting for. The days that follow are quiet but purposeful. Boundaries are enforced with subtle firmness. My father and Stepmom's interactions are now governed by respect and awareness. My stepmom retreats more into herself, aware that her actions are observed and accounted for. The house no longer feels like a trap. It begins to breathe again, slowly, as if it senses the shift. We reclaim our spaces one gesture at a time. Aisha rearranges the living room, softening corners with cushions and throws, infusing the home with warmth rather than tension. I help, carrying boxes, unpacking small treasures that had been buried in the chaos. Each object placed, each item restored, feels symbolic a reclamation of control, of dignity, of love. One evening, as we sit on the balcony with tea, the city lights flickering below, Aisha leans against my shoulder, a quiet smile on her lips. I think we're finally safe, she says, though a trace of caution lingers in her tone. We are, I reply, brushing my fingers through her hair. But safety isn't just about walls or distance. It's about us, our bond, our vigilance, our trust. We carry it wherever we go. Her head tilts, resting against me. I never thought healing could feel like this. Not just the wounds fading, but the way we connect. Like we're rediscovering each other. I chuckle softly. Rediscovering isn't a bad thing, I say. It's like finding new colors in a familiar painting. Even with the scars, it becomes more vibrant, more alive. That night, we lie in bed, the quiet only interrupted by the occasional creak of the house settling. I trace patterns on her back, feeling the tension melt slowly, replaced by intimacy and reassurance. Every sigh, every touch, every whispered word rebuilds the bridge between us, stronger than before. I missed this, she whispers, voice husky with emotion. Not just being close, but feeling safe, feeling home. You are home, I murmur, pressing my lips to her temple. And I promise, no one will make you feel otherwise again. The pregnancy adds layers of tenderness to our interactions. I become hyper-aware of her needs, her discomforts, her joys and fears. Each day is a balance between care and encouragement, shielding and allowing independence. Her laughter becomes a song I memorize. Her sighs, a compass guiding me through this delicate phase. One evening, she rests her hand over her belly, eyes reflecting a quiet determination. Our baby, she whispers, already part of our fight, our love, our future. I place my hand over hers, feeling the gentle movement beneath. Yes, I say softly, and we'll protect this life, this love, everything it represents. Together, always together. We begin small rituals to fortify our emotional connection. Breakfasts on the balcony, candlelit dinners with no interruptions, evenings spent recounting dreams and plans for the future. Each act, simple and deliberate, is a thread weaving us back into a seamless tapestry of love and trust. Yet, the scars remain. Moments of anxiety flicker, reminders of past tension. A misplaced word, a shadow on the wall, a door closing too harshly, all can trigger echoes of fear. But instead of allowing them to fester, we face them together, talking through doubts, grounding each other, transforming past trauma into shared resilience. I'm scared sometimes, she admits one night, tears glistening. scared it could all return. I know, I whisper, brushing her hair back, cupping her face. And it's okay. Being scared doesn't mean weakness. It means we care deeply, and we'll face every fear together. Every single one. The nights grow longer, more peaceful, punctuated by laughter, soft kisses, and the occasional tear, a release, not a burden. The house breathes with us now, alive with warmth rather than tension. It no longer feels like a battlefield. It feels like home. One evening, as we sit hand in hand, watching the sunset bleed gold and rose across the sky, Aisha rests her head on my shoulder. Do you think we're really healed? She asks softly. I think, I reply, healing isn't a destination. It's a journey. And right now, we're walking it together, stronger for every step we've taken. She smiles, a small radiant curve of lips, eyes shimmering with hope. Then let's keep walking. Together. I press my lips to her hair, breathing in the scent that has become my anchor. Together, I echo, heart swelling with quiet triumph. For the first time in what feels like forever, I believe it. Love has survived cruelty, adversity, and betrayal. Love has endured, resilient and unbroken.